All right, thanks for joining me. Quick scans for a Monday. We had some real good news on AMD and Alibaba and a few other names, and one name in particular, which we covered in the live trading room and took a position on over a week ago, was a small little therapeutic company, excuse me, biotech, VKTX. That's right, Viking Therapeutics. What happened today? Quite frankly, I really didn't get the news out there. We did a 60-66, a 6 wide bull call spread that expires this Friday. We just picked up a little bit of unusual activity. We had a buy signal here and it followed through. The relative strength started to improve. This is the PMC, called Person's Market Catcher, and you can find that on Thinkorswim. And in fact, I'll show you. Let's see, where is it? These are some of the stocks that we're following here in the live trading room here. Obviously, the SPYs, the Qs, the Russell. By the way, this green line in the Russell, we can get a daily close above 215.86, and it should be a pivot breakout, a gap fill pivot breakout, and that should extend us back up to 225. So for those traders looking, it didn't happen today, so possibly Tuesday. Not a lot out there. You got some Fed speakers. These guys are going to be, I don't know, talking up, they're probably going to cover Jay Powell's back. Like we might, we could, we should, we can't, we won't. Who knows? Be more data dependent. Whatever they're going to talk about tomorrow. The market's really focused on, I think, at this point, a little bit of fiscal policy changes in the next 4 years. The market's also focused. Yeah, we want to know what the Fed's going to do, and Jay Powell speaks Friday. We have the Wednesday's FOM minutes of the last FOMC meeting to find out if there was any dissenters that really wanted to cut rates. So we'll get that information out there. But anything that's got to do about economic numbers showing continued weakness, maybe weekly jobs number will be important. Existing home sales Thursday will be important, especially if sales are lower and not higher, shows commerce is slowing down. It may give, the idea, the notion that the Fed, can ease a little more, and the market likes that, bottom line. So we really don't have a lot of major economic numbers to contend with. But if rates are to come down and if the markets continue to go higher, we need to see the Russell participate. And there's two sides of that story, but today's story was based on, Viking was up close to 16%. We had the story today was AMD. We had a nice breakout on AMD. We've been looking at the long exposure on AMD via the newsletter. I've shared that with you in weeks past. Last week we were talking about in the newsletter, eBay was a position that we took, and bottom line, there's been some really good things happening. So when I take a look at PMC readings, and I'll just pop up a chart here, max sell this up here. We're going to go to studies. You're going to go to add a study, find my name, it's John Person, and go to PMC. And this is the relative strength indicator that just kind of puts in a graphic formation in color coded the different phases that markets kind of enter into. One, they go underperform. That's when they're going down relative to the S&P. It would show a red histogram, momentum weakening. If it's starting to improve, it goes fuchsia, and when it starts to outperform relative to the S&P, it turns blue. So Netflix, even though on the 12th it opened lower, it was still losing less percentage-wise and outperforming relative to the S&P 500. All right, let's take a look at Viking Therapeutics, VKTX. That's what I was showing you before. And here it is, Viking Therapeutics, and this is when we started to look at it. It's like, man, this is a nice little bullish convergence pattern. The volume was going up, the price was going down. That's exactly what we said. More importantly, we were also looking at an improvement in the relative performance of the overall, this stock relative to the S&P 500. How much higher can Viking go through? Remember, this is a biotech company that's trying to break into the GLP-1 drug, give Novo Nordisk a run for their money, or maybe Eli Lilly, and put out a product in a pill form, not a subcutaneous injection form. So Viking Therapeutics, kind of keep your eye on it. It's been volatile, but it's been an exciting trade. Somebody knew something was coming up, and they just waited a week. And here was our exact, kind of like our line in the sand. Look at the call options. It held that line in the sand, that support. That's what we were looking at. So now I can go over and clear drawing set. Yes. All right. So since I do have my Thinkorswim open, let's go over to studies. Let's go to edit the studies, and we're going to change day pivots from day trading. We're going to go weekly for swing trading, and I'm going to put the weekly pivots there. And let's go rapid fire on a few stocks that I think you might find interesting. At least we have, for disclosure, a small position in. One is EBAY. eBay, still, it started to weaken the relative performance today on a daily basis, but this is a stock that something's going on with it, mainly because there's been some decent volume. Another stock that we have an interest in is PayPal, PYPL. PayPal just broke out. Here's our work. We do a lot of research here. That green line is like you get a breakout and a close greater than that line with improved relative strength and accumulation of volume, you should get a breakout. Now we have, and we're right up against the top end of a channel resistance, old resistance, namely that $70. Let me turn this down to a weekly chart so you can see, gee, that's talk about a trading range. Is it ready to break out? Well, the weekly relative strength hasn't broken out, but there is certainly some decent volume in this market. If you think about the distance and the amount of volume that's come into the market since July 22nd, it's actually back. It's taken from April until July for sellers to get, I guess, dissuaded from being long, and it took literally 3 weeks for the market to find excitement. So PayPal might have a little bit more in the fintech space. There's some other names here that also are starting to show some promise and some upside. Let's go back over and take a look at the daily chart. This one's called Block, used to be called Square. Jack Dorsey, the guy who founded and created Twitter. This is a kind of like a small business owner's device to run charges for self-employed folks. He also has 3 other entities under that umbrella of that company. We Built Wallet, which is related to cryptocurrency. This definitely has some really fabulous breakout. I don't know about buying breakouts in this environment. It just filled a gap on the chart. Look for a mild pullback. If the market's truly bullish, we do not want to see it break below this fuchsia line, that pivot level. That would be my drawing line in the sand. You don't want to see, a pullback somewhere between pivot and maybe Friday's low, somewhere in that range, small pullback. Take a look at Square. Next, we've got AFRM, AFRM, the pay-as-you-go. This one also had a decent little breakout. It may be getting too close to my person's pivot weekly resistance. That moving average, that sell signal right there, that caused the market. So this could be a pause in the market on a firm, and again, interest rate announcement by the Fed's intention on Friday will definitely affect this name. But a firm, I mean, it's pretty darn cheap. Let's take a look at the weekly chart real quick. And really, nobody's come out of this trade. I think consumers still have an appetite to spend. The holidays will, believe it or not, I knock on wood, the time doesn't pass that fast. But, I mean, I know it's August, but Christmas is right around the corner, gang, and we are starting to see some retail stores and retail-related names start to catch a bid a little bit here. Perhaps people will pay as you go on holiday shopping, and this would be kind of a good idea to be following over the next couple days. All right, we had AFRM, PayPal, Square, eBay, I think I mentioned. We've got Viking Therapeutics. Here's one, MLCO, in the gambling world that generated a buy setup today. Small lot traders may want to take a look at Milco. I don't like the volume, but it did generate a daily buy signal. It's just one of these expressly oversold. And one thing I would say that I kind of like about it is it went from a downdraft up, it came back and formed a mini W bottom, a double bottom type of pattern, and generated a PPS buy. The daily volume sprung back to life. If it does have something, I would say, listen, I would be more engaged in this stock if it closes back over $5.76. That's the day we saw the high of this move break down, came back, tested it, couldn't take it out. A close greater than that, that might be a more interesting, so you may want to follow that. Milco, certainly defined risk. If it couldn't go down significantly on the 12th with the rest of the market, probably bad news is most likely posted into this name. So Milco would be one for a short-term trade to the upside. I've been high and mighty about, of course, the Chinese-related names, specifically Alibaba. We do have a fairly large position in Alibaba as a disclosure. And one of the things that I think is pretty important is not just Alibaba that broke out. It broke out of the highs. I think this has got a little bit more to go. So pullbacks, as long as we defend and hold both the moving averages that are rising and the weekly pivot point, and you can see the weekly pivot structure. Every red line is higher over the last 3 weeks, and we've made significant higher lows. We finally made a higher high, and so we got to see if this thing's got a little more legs. But it's not just BABA, it's JD. JD had an impressive earnings report. It's FXI. I've been mentioning that in these videos too. Obviously, it's got a nice little pattern. The relative strength has been improving. There's the blue dot right there, and there's been some decent volume. Now this week you have one Chinese stock, and I'm not really opposed to Baidu, but I've made my bed with FXI and I've made my bed with Alibaba. But in a lot of these names, in the Chinese related names, you're getting a good bounce. And Baidu with earnings, I'm not sure how it's going to come about. With beat top line, bottom line. But Thursday before the bell, Baidu has their earnings. So that's one thing to kind of not forget about. In the spirit of things are cheap and can't get any worse, here's a name. It's called CVS Caremark. And I mean, talk about just nobody's buying drugs. They're going to Amazon for pharmacies. Nobody's, the pharmaceutical stores are closing, the whole 9 yards. Their healthcare purchase in that segment's been an abortion. There's nothing but really bad news. And I mean, there is no good news except for it stopped going down, right? Two things about this company. It's got, I think, a 9. The price to earning ratio is a 9. More importantly, I believe they pay almost a 4% dividend yield. Let me double check my homework for you because that would be important. Make sure I give the right information. We can do that together real quick. I'm just going to type in CVS and let's double check. Here it is. We've got a valuation. All right, 10 PE, and the dividend yield is 4.5%. So somebody's gonna, maybe that's for a dividend player. And again, those stocks, if the Fed's gonna cut rates, perhaps money flow back into dividend yield. Here's a dividend yielder called British Tobacco with almost as you can see, a dividend yield right there, 10%. 10%. So if you think 2-year T-bills, these, if you have a moral issue about cigarette sales, British Tobacco is not the stock for you. However, a 10% dividend yield, and let's take a look at where it's come from. It's really been in the pits, and it just wasn't until like the last couple of weeks that we saw a move break out of 31 back up to 36. Dips against the rising moving average can probably be bought. My guess is, cool, calm, collected. If you're looking at dividend yield, British Tobacco is on the safe side now. Obviously, somebody, you can see the momentum of volume. Someone other than John Person likes this stock because buyers are coming in with a good, strong accumulation of momentum and volume showing. So bottom line for going into Tuesday, Medtronic's earnings first thing. These guys are the ones that Medtronics, they invented the pacemaker. I'm not quite sure that in the healthcare, and for this video, it's not going to help you because earnings come out first thing in the morning. But I do think that you've got, in the medical device sector, things are starting to open up a little bit. More stocks are starting to shine. We've got a lot of different names in the healthcare. I just pointed out about Viking Therapeutics. And then last but not least, here's a little name, a blast from the past, which had a really disaster month in July. It's Biogen. Daily high close doji. The relative strength hasn't improved because it's just been down in the doldrums. But it finally got a little bid, and I think maybe we could get some kind of recovery out of Biogen. I'll keep you updated. We'll do another video this week, possibly if not tomorrow night, definitely Wednesday, and keep you abreast of some of the names. I wrote them all down, and we're following these not only in the live trade room, but also in the newsletter. Just you want to see what some of the things we've got. eBay, we've got Alibaba. I think I disclosed, do have a position in British Tobacco, Boston Properties, Pfizer, AT&T. We are in an on-cloud position. We bought in October 42.5 50 bull call spread ahead of earnings, which worked out. We do have long exposure with Russell. We were in a SPY put spread and got out of half of that, which made some decent money on the open on August 12th. So that was, we did quite well there. So this is kind of a free trade. I don't want to lose the premium, but it is a September expiration, so we're holding half. By the way, my feeling still is that volatility, when it spikes like we did, generally you get some test of the low. Are we going to get a test of that low? Maybe not, but time will tell. We could take out the high, come close to the high, and then in September, which generally September, not August, September's are some really, really rough months, and as far as market give back. So if we do make a new high, I'm not chasing the market up here. This is kind of like certain stocks that I can define my risk, the ones I've been giving you. Those are good for some short-term trades. That's why I'm not putting out the stories for Google. That's, as you can see with the Google, the weekly analysis, there's no buy signal. The volume, no one else looks like they want to be buying aggressively quite yet. Apple, let's look at some of the heads of the five family. Momentum of buying weakened over time. We've got TSLA. Tesla recovered right into falling moving averages. Maybe it could do a little bit better. It looks like there's going to be some overhead resistance around 228 to 235. Sorry about that, but that's what the indicators are showing. MSFT, last one here. Same story. How big was the recovery? It came right back into falling MAs. It's not near its highs. So the mega cap stuff is under pressure, and money's coming out of those and going into all the little stuff that we've been identifying. So anyway, it's been a nice little ride. I hope you benefited from the videos. If you like what you hear, give us a thumb up. Always, you can subscribe, and we'll be back with another video later this week. Have a great rest of your evening.